Welcome to Crossmen Live, the series, special Hall of Fame edition. I'm Jack Brennicky.
And I'm Josh Sears. So today we are going to take a look at some of the highlights from the induction ceremony that has traditionally occurred at Allentown, the alumni picnic in the park, which once again happened this past season in August. And so let's take a look.
Good afternoon and welcome to Crossmen Live, the series, special Hall of Fame edition. Today we're going to induct into the Hall of Fame this year's nominations, and just glad everybody was able to make it out to the park. Obviously we're here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And we have three of our inductees are here today with us, and one of them is in Texas. And sadly, our first inductee passed away in 2007, and that's Bill Kellerman. So Bill Kellerman's involvement with the Crossmen spanned multiple decades. He was a marching member in 1988, 1989, and 1990. He toured with the Corps in 2003, and then went on to serve as assistant brass caption head in 2004 and brass caption head in 2005. After spending time instructing the cadets in the mid-90s, Bill did a stint at Glassman during some of their best years of the early 2000s, then coming back to the cadets in 2002. Right around that time, at the age of 33, Bill was diagnosed with a tumor in one of his kidneys and could not go on tour. He started aggressive chemo and radiation, had surgery, and was back on his feet teaching again for the fall of 2002. By the summer of 2003, Bill was in remission and spent some of the time on the road with the Crossmen. Bill loved his time with the Crossmen and had some involvement in 2004 before becoming the full-time caption head in 2005. During the winter of 2005, Bill had noticed some signs of the illness returning, and sadly, the day of the Corps' first performance in 2005 at Gettysburg, Bill received word his cancer had returned. His doctors ordered him off the road, but Bill decided to go home and then return to the tour, postponing surgery and treatment until after the summer of 2005. His condition worsened some in 2005, but to spend time around him, you would never know. He was a high-energy, passionate, and fully engaged in helping the Crossmen pursue greatness. Bill's condition stabilized with treatment in 2005, and he was in remission again by the summer of 2006. Sadly, in early 2007, his health rapidly deteriorated. On June 30th, 2007, the Corps performed at Giant Stadium and dedicated the show to Bill, knowing that he was right across the river at Sloan Kettering in Manhattan. Bill Kellerman passed away the next morning on July 1st. Bill may have left the earth that day, but his impact has never left those whom he taught. Bill Kellerman lived for drum corps. He believed in the power of what it does for students. He credited his love for music and the activity to his time at Crossmen and wanted to be part of helping the Crossmen be the best version of themselves. Bill had the highest standards and wanted the Crossmen to be an elite drum corps. He preached responsibility and accountability on the field and off, and he was very demanding with the brass section. He loved to hire and mentor young staff members to help them grow into better teachers and people. In addition to music, Bill taught his students many things, such as commitment, perseverance, resilience, courage, responsibility, and care for others. Bill even took the time to visit with the volunteers and the food crew every day to thank them. And he was always looking to chat with the custodians at the schools so that they would know just how much their efforts meant to the organization. Ladies and gentlemen, the Crossmen Alumni Association, and the Crossmen Hall of Fame Committee are proud to induct into the Crossmen Hall of Fame Class of 2021, Bill Kellerman. Accepting the award on behalf of Bill is Larry Markevich.
There's so much that I know Bill would love to say if he were here today. I think everyone that knew Bill knew he knew how to have fun, but I think back to you know, when you're sitting in the back of a horn bus in 1989, you'd never think this moment would come and we'd be delivering this award on his behalf posthumously. But I think the one thing I want people to remember about Bill is that he personified what the Crossmen are all about, which is work hard and play hard. He's the guy that really helped the horn line understand that we could be great musicians and that the Crossmen brass section could compete with the big dogs. Just by the way Bill would come out to rehearsal, set the arc, bring his horn up. He just did those things that people just watched, and we did because that's what Bill did. And then the fun part, I mean, I don't think I've ever laughed as much as I did when I hung out with Bill Kellerman. My entire life, and most of my friends say that the hardest they've ever laughed is when Bill Kellerman was in the room. And usually he could do it with a smirk or 2 syllables or a roll of eyes and just get the place rolling. And then when he did speak, oh my goodness, it would put it over the top. So I think most of us, that's what we know of Bill. And then on a personal side, since I've been asked to accept this on his behalf posthumously, Bill was the best friend you could ever ask for. He was loyal. He would defend me when I was in the room. When I was in the room, he was just one of those people who always had your back. And I'll never forget that. I always hoped I could be just as good a friend back to him. That's what I always told him. One of our favorite pastimes was going to New York City during the Christmas break. And we would just go around town buying music and going to record stores back when they had record stores. Then we go down to the Village and Bill would order his favorite drink, a dirty martini, extra dirty with lots of olives. And we would just laugh and have fun and just run around New York City like it was our playground. So I'm sure there's no doubt that Bill and his family, I just want to acknowledge Bill's parents, who I feel like I know almost as well as my own parents. They were always at the shows. His sister, I remember meeting them as early as the late 1980s, and I still occasionally get to see Bill's sister and parents. So I'm sure they're very proud today. I know Bill's looking down at us. He's also very proud today. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. And if you have not seen, this is the award to be in Bill's honor, and we will get that, I guess, to his family.
Thank you, Larry. I want to introduce Kristen Erdman and Jared Lipman. These two are the individuals who did the nominating and the supporting letters for Bill, and the floor is your guys.
Thanks, Rick. I just wanted to say, you know, I was blessed to have known Bill, even though it was only for a short time. And as the athletic trainer for the Corps, you know, I always felt like it was my responsibility to know what was going on medically with everybody. And that included the staff, not just the members. I think what was unique about Bill and his particular situation is that I didn't know anything about his cancer diagnosis until probably halfway through the summer of '04. And he actually came to me one afternoon in the RV and basically told me what was going on and, you know, said, hey, could you help me out with some things? And so I did. And I spent some time with him that summer, just kind of helping him feel a little bit better, kind of handle some of the discomfort. But what was great about Bill is that you wouldn't have known that any of that was going on if he didn't say anything about it. And one of the things that I really appreciate about him, and the reason that I wanted to nominate him, is because when we talk about the Crossmen, we talk about mind, body, spirit, and discipline. And I feel like Bill really embodied that. His strength of spirit and his resiliency are something that was pretty remarkable to see. He was patient. He was passionate. He loved what he did. And I think that anybody that interacted with him, whether they were a member that marched or whether they were someone like me that was on the administrative side, could see that and could pick that up in him. And I really feel like he is part of what the Corps is about. And so I felt like he was absolutely deserving of this honor. And so I appreciate everybody that voted for him.
Hey there, this is Jarrett Lipman. I aged out of the Corps in 2007, which is the year that Bill passed away. And I came to the Crossmen largely because of Bill, and he was my private euphonium teacher through high school and in college. And I taught alongside of him at South Brunswick. And I feel like Bill, out of any educator I've had in my life, has had the most profound influence on me, the way that I teach, the way that I think about things. Even now, when Bill passed away, there were so many tears, and yet it was hard not to start laughing when you would think about Bill, because Bill embodied happiness. Bill, in his darkest moments, was a beacon of light for everybody that knew him. And watching him, whether it was on the summer when he was on tour, or whether he was working with his orchestra students in South Brunswick, where he was teaching euphonium, I'll never forget riding around in his car on the way to marching band shows and having to clear out the old White Castle containers. And Larry and I would joke about the bees that would be flying around inside, and he would just smirk and grin the whole time. And we would work hard that day, and the reward at the end of the night, he'd have a Miller High Life, and he introduced me to my first beer. And I just feel like the whole experience with Bill for me was learning how to have the highest possible standard of excellence on the field. But when time came to have a great time, Bill was always ready to go. And I think, for me as a teacher, I've been teaching almost 15 years now in public school in Texas, and I've maintained a euphonium studio all through that time. And every student that I know and every student that I've taught in drum corps, I make sure that I talk about Bill and in all kinds of different stories that I've learned from him, whether it was how to get through a difficult day, how to be really great at euphonium, how to call people out when they're not being honest. And he was the best at that. He never liked these kinds of ceremonies anyway, because he would laugh and go, "Stop talking about me, stop blowing smoke." And Bill was all about serving others and just being the very best. And I think Bill loved the Crossmen and really wanted to see the Crossmen excel. And I just think he would be really proud to see that the Corps is thriving and that the Corps is continuing to make such an impact and trying to be great at drum corps. But there will never be a day that goes by where, as a student of Bill, I don't think about him. I don't think about him when I'm in front of a brass section. I don't think about him when the Oakland Days are on. And I feel like the greatest thing that I have from my relationship with Bill is still my friendship with Larry. And I admired so much what Larry and Bill did together as a team when Larry was the director, Bill was the caption head. And friendship was something that we all saw, and we all saw how special that was. So, for Bill's family, I know every day that you carry this, and just know the impact that your son has had on all of us, or your brother Becky has had on all of us, and how much everybody that knew Bill carries him in our heart each and every day. And we try to do better because of Bill. And I know that, like Larry said, he's up there watching down. And every time that I see a Miller High Life sign glowing, or I watch the Oakland Days win a game, I know that Bill is smiling up there. So I'm just grateful to the Crossmen alumni for acknowledging Bill and the impact he's made, and thankful to be a part of the ceremony today.
Thank you, guys. It's a great tribute that you guys have bestowed upon Bill with your memories and all. I can attest that I did help him go get a beer run going once when I was volunteering on tour and the staff was getting ready to leave. So I do know that happy side of Bill. So that was a cool moment. So I want to thank you guys for nominating Bill, and Larry. I want to thank you for accepting the award for Larry or for Bill. And even though Bill's not here, he's here in spirit, and we're welcoming him into the club. So thank you guys once again.
Thank you.
Our next inductee into the Crossmen Hall of Fame 2021 is Mark Chambers. At the end of the 2006 season, members of the Crossmen knew they were facing uncertainty heading into the following year. There had been rumors about shutting down the Corps or being sold to a buyer in Virginia, and many other disconcerting stories that led them and the alumni to believe the Crossmen might not continue to operate in 2007 and beyond. Moving to Texas was not on anyone's radar. As negotiations with YEA began to solidify, Mark Chambers made the difficult decision to leave his position as a successful band director at Ronald Reagan High School in order to lead Crossmen into an uncertain relocation and future in Texas. Up until that point, there had been no successful Texas drum corps, so Mark and his family took a huge leap of faith to make it happen. To fund the corps, Mark Chambers and Fred and Maureen Morrison made a significant financial investment, including Mark cashing out a large portion of his personal retirement to purchase instruments for the corps the first and second year. During the fall of 2006, Mark traveled to New Jersey to meet with potential returning veterans and worked extremely hard to convince many of them to travel to Texas. He made it a priority that the vets felt valued and stressed how important the alumni were in maintaining the Corps' heritage throughout the move. Had it not been for Mark's persistence, many of the vets may not have continued. Without Mark Chambers, the Crossmen would not exist. Although Mark's tenure at Crossmen ended sooner than many would have liked, during the 4 years he served as director, the Corps enjoyed financial stability and steady growth of its membership base. Mark led the Corps back into the night shows during the 2008 season for the first time since 2004. He was awarded DCI Director of the Year in 2008 for his success leading the relocation and transition of the Crossmen out of YEA and out of YEA and into the independent organization it is today. Yay. Mark. Sometimes I go on autopilot. Mark was crucial in establishing the Crossmen's first board of directors in Texas. He served on the Crossmen's board as vice chairman from 2006 until the present. The dedication and strong work ethic that Mark exhibited to make his program at Ronald Reagan a national success, as well as his success at the Crossmen, has contributed to the strong relationships with many Texas band directors that the Corps enjoys today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Crossmen Alumni Association, and the Crossmen Hall of Fame Committee are proud to induct into the Crossmen Hall of Fame Class of 2021, Mark Chambers. And presenting the award is Jarrett Lipman.
Very excited to be here with Mark today and have the opportunity to present his Hall of Fame recognition. I think I speak for everybody that was a member of the Corps in 2007. There was so much uncertainty that year when we knew that we were going to be moving to Texas. And this individual traveled to the Northeast, and it was one of those relationships that immediately when you met him, you knew we were going to be in good hands. And through our first summer and all the way 14 years later, Mark has continued to watch over the Crossmen with Fred and Maureen. We've been so grateful for everything that they've done for all of us and continue to do. And I think that that's the most special part is that after aging out of the Corps, the relationship never ceased. And so without Mark, without Fred, and without Maureen, this would not have been possible. But today is about recognizing Mark's contributions to the organization and just saying thank you so much from the members' perspective and now proud alumni. And so I'm so grateful to be here. Mark has done so much for all of us. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Fred right now to speak a little bit about Mark as well.
Thank you very much, Jarrett. Without Jarrett, without Mark, without Mark's family, it would have been triply difficult in order to keep this whole thing together. And Mark's continued involvement will ensure the success of the Corps going forward, especially during these most difficult past couple of years. It's been interesting, I'm sure, for him and the board, but they have the guts and determination to keep it going and keep the activity on the up and up. Rick?
Hey, so we're going to turn it over to Mark. If you have any words you would like to say, the floor is yours.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, let me just say thank you to everyone. I was so incredibly surprised and humbled and honored. When I think of the folks that have received this before, who are in the Hall of Fame, and some of the names and icons of drum corps, it's unbelievable to think about that. So I'm very honored. Thank you so much to Jarrett and Fred and Maureen for nominating me and for being there for me throughout the years. I think everyone's alluded to when we made that switch over to Texas, but I literally, anyone that was around in those days knows what a part Jarrett played in that, just helping us that first year. And of course, Fred and Maureen, that year, they've always been mentors to me and carried on for the next few years. I think of them as the mom and dad of the Texas side of the Corps. And I'm just grateful and honored to have been a part of all of it. And just blown away. Thank you, Crossmen alumni, for thinking of me and for this honor. Absolutely, truly humbled and so thankful. Thanks so much.
Well, Mark, I want to say you're welcome. And on behalf of the Alumni Association and the Hall of Fame Committee, I want to welcome you to the club.
Thank you.
Our next inductee is Deb Rogerson. Deb Rogerson's love for drum corps is great and started at a young age. Having parents who both marched in drum corps, Deb started her drum corps experience when she was just 10 years old with the Golden Eagle Drum and Bugle Corps. Then from 1971 to 1974, she was in the rifle line of the Bracken Cavaliers and marched indoor guard with the Ridgemen. When the Crossmen were formed in 1974, Deb joined the Corps, thus making her a charter member of the Crossmen. She marched six seasons in the rifle line, which famously became known as the Squad. Deb finally aged out of drum corps with the Blue Devils in 1981. In 1985, Deb joined the color guard staff of the Crossmen. Her experience as a member of the Crossmen and Blue Devils rifle lines was invaluable. Deb's eye for design and excellence made her an extremely valuable asset to the Crossmen staff that year. Deb spent some time in the 90s judging bands and winter guard with the National Judges Association. Later that decade, she began judging with USSBA, and that would eventually lead to her employment with YEA in 2000. Deb began her tenure with YEA as a merchandising manager for both Crossmen and cadets. She toured in 2000 doing merchandise for the Crossmen while maintaining orders for both corps. In the fall of 2000, Deb was appointed the tour director of the Crossmen for 2001. She continued in that role for 2 years, along with being the housing coordinator for both Crossmen and cadets. In 2003 and 2004, Deb was tour manager for the Magic of Orlando. She returned to the Crossmen in 2006 as the tour director and housing coordinator. She was a favorite tour director with the Corps members, as they still come up to her today at competitions just to say hi. After the 2006 season, the Crossmen moved to San Antonio, Texas, and Deb remained in Philadelphia with her family. Deb's time on the road with the Corps ended, but she never stopped supporting the Corps through generous donations and sponsorships of Corps members to help with their tour fees. Deb has shared her talent and passion for drum corps with the Crossmen in 3 separate decades. The many roles she has played, both on and off the field, have had a positive and lasting impact on the Crossmen's journey and success. Ladies and gentlemen, the Crossmen Alumni Association, and the Crossmen Hall of Fame Committee are proud to induct into the Crossmen Hall of Fame Class of 2021, Deb Rogerson. Yeah. And presenting the award to Deb is Judy Bustard-Zimbardi.
It has been my pleasure and my privilege and my blessing to have marched with you and then to have continued our friendship. And it is also my great honor to present you this well-deserved award. I love you.
I guess I don't get the stage. Get off the stage.
And last but not least, are Taylor and Allison Jenkins. Taylor Jenkins marched Crossmen on euphonium from 1998 through 2000. then on baritone 2001 and 2002, his age-out year. He returned to the Corps as a member of the visual staff in 2005. In 2006, he served on the admin staff and as a volunteer driver. Taylor was co-manager of Suvies from 2007 through 2011. During these years, Allison served on the admin staff in 2006, was co-manager of Suvies from 2007 through 2009, and a Suvi staff member in 2010 and 2011. Each year, Allison and Taylor, along with their dog Spike, drove the Suvi rig an estimated 12 to 15,000 miles and eventually visited almost all of the 48 contiguous states. Through their consistent diligence and effort on the road each summer, they made hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Corps during their tenure. They turned souvenir sales into an art form. And since there is no category for animals in the Crossmen Hall of Fame, we can certainly give Spike an honorable mention. While working at the Suvi booth, Taylor and Allison would graciously answer questions about the Crossman history and traditions, including what to expect on tour when talking to potential rookies. They were eager to share the Crossman spirit with all that visited. If you were a parent, they would take your messages or packages to your child without hesitation. It was never an inconvenience, but an honor that they were able to help you, your member, and the Corps. The Suvi booth has always been a place for alumni to gather and hang, and Allison and Taylor made it a welcoming place. They knew the value of the alumni and were always there to give an update or pass on a message. Taylor and Allison would help everyone immediately feel welcome and part of the Crossman family. They were always a warm, helpful, and uplifting presence on tour. Allison and Taylor would recognize people's accomplishments on and off the field, for instance, celebrating with a cake for someone's special event. Taylor and Allison continue to support the Crossmen in any way they can, whether at a fundraiser or, in Taylor's case, as the co-host with Aaron Goldberg on the Crossmen Live, the series Staff Spotlight segment. Taylor was part of another co-creation in the winter of 2003 and 2004, along with Hall of Famers Aaron Goldberg and Joe Kemp, the institution of the Dark Horse social tradition for alumni. Allison and Taylor love the Crossmen, and they showed up to work each summer wearing that love on their sleeves. The Corps and those who were a part of it during that time are better off for having had Taylor and Allison in their lives and in the Suvi trailer as the face of the Crossmen off the field. Ladies and gentlemen, the Crossmen Alumni Association, and the Crossmen Hall of Fame Committee are proud to induct into the Crossmen Hall of Fame class of 2021 Taylor and Allison Jenkins and Spike. And presenting the award is Aaron Goldberg via telephone. And you. Who's going first?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Aaron.
All right, hey, everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. A big thanks to Don and Rick for making this happen, and I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. But listen, I had a big thing written about Taylor and Allison, but Jack just said it so well. I'm going to paraphrase, and I'm going to speak only for about a minute because, man, there's a drum corps show to get to tonight, right?
Yes.
All right, so check this out. Taylor and Allison, in their role with the Crossmen, they were the face of the drum corps. They were actually the face of the drum corps. You know, if you think of people seeing maybe the drum major, maybe the front ensemble's faces, you know, for 11 and a half minutes of the show, Taylor and Allison were present from the moment each stadium opened until the very final audience members left with their T-shirts and merchandise in hand for hours on hours every night, stadium after stadium, state after state. Taylor and Allison were the face of the Crossmen, and everyone who knows them can assume and can think that there's no one better for that job. Bill Ives, the Suvi person for Jersey Surf, at least he was for years and years. I look at him as like the master, the best Suvi slinger who's ever lived. When he preached about how good Taylor and Allison were, I just thought that, you know, in the eyes of a souvenir king, Taylor and Allison are royalty. On their time on the road, they've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars, as was mentioned. They really helped the Corps exist, especially in a time when, money was tighter and it was more expensive to put a Corps on the road. People who were they just cleaned notes and rhythms and flag work, and people who were designing just put notes and rhythms on paper. But Taylor and Allison actually helped the Corps exist. For what it's worth, they did this with their genuine and loving personality. Everyone they've ever met, whether they're a total stranger or someone who's been in their lives forever, is instantly drawn to them. And it's their charisma and their sense of genuineness that makes them who they are, that makes them the beautiful people they are, and it makes them so successful in the job that they did each night in stadiums across this great land of ours. For what it's worth, and this was already sort of mentioned, by the way, I'm so glad that Spike the dog is there. But Taylor, prior to his time on the road, logging hundreds of hours of overnight driving in the box truck with Allison, prior to that, Taylor was a teacher, and I'm just so happy to have shared a summer with Taylor, teaching the Corps to that. Taylor, if you can hear this clearly, that was a very difficult summer. It was difficult because it was right after our friend Joe Kempf was taken from us in December of 2004. It was a difficult summer because it was the first year that the Corps had fallen out of finals in decades, and nobody knew how to deal with either, but I'm so happy that we were able to deal with both together. And even before that, this was mentioned as well, Taylor was a rock star member of the Crossmen Horn Line. In his work ethic and his passion and his dedication to the Corps, it's no wonder that for years after, with his talented wife and his cute dog by his side, that he would continue giving to the Corps. That just makes so much sense. And for what it's worth, I'm just so happy that here, 20 years later, from what was my age out year, 2001, we are all in the Hall of Fame. Taylor, you and me and Joe, if you recall, every day we would do elbow to elbow, 6 to 5 backwards drills across the field. They beat us up so hard, and here we are 20 years later, all in the Hall together. That's just such a great thing. So you deserve it so much. Your contribution to the Crossmen is undeniable, and you deserve this great honor. And thank you for the chance to speak. Congratulations to both of you.
Thanks, Aaron. And presenting the medals is Donna Reedy. And the plaque.
Well, okay. Well, then he's got to get in the picture.
Okay, well, I can
Yes.
do this. About this. Photo ops.
All right. Well, that concludes our Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And thanks for everybody for being civil.
Well, that was a very deserving class, Crossman Hall of Fame class of 2021. One thing you didn't mention in your little write-up, Jack, was for Allison and Taylor, when the Suvi booth was not only a welcoming place for alumni, it was also a welcoming place for members. Many different times throughout the season, you just stop by the Suvi booth, there would be 1 or 2 or more members just sitting there hanging out with them, just because they made it such a welcoming place. I know I stopped by there many times. So very well-deserving class.
Yeah, and it seemed like we pretty much covered the whole, at least 3 or 4 decades worth of people, starting from the very beginning with Deb and going all the way up to Taylor and Allison and their dog Spike, who I met. I got to meet him, and I had no idea that Spike was still with us when when I was putting these bios together. It wasn't mentioned one way or another, but I thought that was a while ago. If he's still around, he's got to be old. And sure enough, when I talked to Taylor and Allison, they said, yeah, he's up there. I think 13 or 14, 15 years old, I think maybe. So it's good that Spike was still there to witness.
Yep. Well, the 2021 DCI season has wrapped up. The 2022 season is coming up very quickly, including audition information for the Corps. So anyone interested in auditioning for Crossmen 2022, pay attention because audition information will be coming fairly soon. Keep your eyes posted. Until then, I'm Josh Sears.
And I'm Jack Brennicky, and thanks for joining us for this special edition of Crossmen Live, the series, the Hall of Fame Class of 2021.